Call the meeting to order at this time. Our first item tonight, we have 4 public hearings. We will start those public hearings at this time. Mr. Stoltz.
Mayor, we have an open public hearing with respect to the ADA transition plan. This is an opportunity for the public to have input in regard to the ADA transitions or ADA needs in the city. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to speak either in favor of or in opposition of the city's ADA transition plan, or give any input into the city's ADA transition plan? Mayor, it doesn't appear that anyone's here with respect to the ADA plan.
Thank you, Mr. Stoltz. Go to number 2.
Mayor, this is in relation to ordinance number 2019-05 zoning. This is a public hearing with respect to the zoning ordinance for Goodlet Family Partners on number 2 Forest Road. It's a request for a zoning C2, presently C1. Is there anyone here who would like to speak either in favor of or opposition to the rezoning? Mayor, it doesn't appear like anyone is present. With respect to that public hearing, and we'll close that one.
Thank you, Mr. Stoltz.
Third public hearing, Mayor, is in relationship to 2019-06 zoning. This is a zoning ordinance with respect to Wanda A. Harwood at 1565 Deach Road, Port Oglethorpe, Georgia, 30742, map number 0013D002. It's a request zoning of a PM. Is there anyone here who would like to speak either in favor of or opposition to this requested zone? Yes, sir, if you would come up, sign up. And then when you approach the podium, state your name. Just your name's fine.
Good afternoon. My name is Lynn Reeves with Ridgewood Consulting, and I've got some attachments to pass out. That's okay.
Yeah, we'll share. Thank you.
Thank you again. My name is Lynn Reeves with Ridgewood Consulting, and as Mr. Stoltz mentioned, I'm here to request the rezoning of 1565 Deeds Road from C2 to PM. And for those of you that don't know, PM zoning is a special type of zoning that allows the Planning Committee and the City Council to specifically approve a development on a piece of property, not just the rezoning of the property itself. So it really gives a lot of control to members of the City Council and Planning and Zoning Committee to ensure that that a nice development is built and not just just rezoned and to where anybody can build anything on it. So that's where we are today, and how we got here is we've had some preliminary meetings with Planning and Zoning with City Council to discuss our development, which is a 64-unit garden-style apartment complex for those who are 55 and older. And the development will consist of 2 stories, an elevator. It'll have hardy board siding along with 30-year shingles on the roof. Very, very high quality, high-end development. And the preliminary meetings we've had so far have gone well. We've implemented a lot of things that City Council recommended and the Planning and Zoning recommended. And so now we are here for the final request to rezone the property. And in this attachments, I hope you all received my email that contained these attachments so that you didn't have to see it all for the first time tonight. But the attachments show similar developments that we've developed in Mississippi and Tennessee, and we have under construction in Louisiana and as well. And the development of the package, clearly outlines the units mix that we plan to build. So it'll be 58 one-bedroom units and 58 one-bedroom units and 6 two-bedroom units. And the site plan shows the layout of the development on the project, on the property. And I guess I'll open the floor to any questions that you have.
I have one. If this is passed to a PM and you don't get the grant, it reverts back to commercial.
Correct.
Is
Yeah,
that
if
correct?
we don't start construction within 1 year of when this property is rezoned, it reverts back to C2 unless an extension is given.
Okay.
So it reverts back. And I have site control throughout that time too, so just another layer of security.
Thank you.
Okay. Sure. Here.
What are the plans for access into that area? When you come down Deeds Road and the auto body shop's on your left,
Right.
it's hard to make a left turn.
Right. The Wise Road is a public road that goes into Dietz Road, and so the access point to the entrance will be from that road.
Could you tell me where that is?
It runs, I think, perpendicular to Dietz. As you come around the corner, there is a road that goes back up to access property that's owned by First National Bank, and there's also a house back there as well. It is south of the body shop and runs along the southern border.
That large piece of property.
Mhm.
And so the road will be out?
It'll be off of Dietz, so you would turn on to Wise right there. Well, Wise meets Dietz at the intersection there. So it'll intersect at the road as it currently does. And then off of that road will be the entrance to the development.
Okay, will there be a light there? There's quite a bit of traffic there.
Yeah,
Will there be a light?
A light would be, I guess, probably a planning and city council decision there, but I'm not sure. Be a good debate for that.
It's difficult to have left turn. What about the access road, that Wise Road you're
Right.
talking about, to get onto the 41 acres?
To get on I'm not sure how far it goes back to the 41 acres. I have not explored the area beyond the parcel that I'm interested in. So I don't know how it accesses those acreage behind there.
I believe you're asking about Wise Road. The road, the road is on is not Wise Road. Wise Road goes just into that.
Is Wise Road, just a little dirt road or gravel road that goes down to 41 acres?
No, this was a gravel road. It's our driveway, and I live there. And that road goes on over the hill, because that road, understand, will be developed. But it's not Wise Road. Wise Road just goes into that Wise,
Into your property?
in what?
It goes right into your property, Wise Road?
Wise Road does not.
I'm confused.
Yeah, from the maps, it looks like it's Wise Road that tees into Dietz Road. It does front the property.
Wise Lane.
Wise Lane. Oh, sorry, thank you.
We had
Sir, if you're gonna talk, I need for you to come up and sign up, please, sir. Sir, your time is up.
Okay.
Go ahead, come on up. We're just trying to get everybody's name and if you would announce who you are to the council when you take the podium.
My name's Sam Ward, and I was trying to answer the lady's question. We had a meeting previously in another room here about this project, and Mr. Schultz answered a question that was asked at that time that he was involved in a law case, I don't know if it's a suit or not, about that road, and it's my remembrance, I guess, that you said that road would be open. And I'm not sure what the name of it was, but it is partially paved and it's partially gravel on up to that 41 acres as we were talking about. And I'm just gonna point that out, that the road, I guess it would be a public road since it is to remain open, and I think Mr. Reeves in his plan shows that this, his project will, come into that road and then go down to Ditch Road. So that's all I was trying to clarify.
Thanks, sir.
I guess my concern is if someone were to develop the 41 acres, they can't make, a left-hand turn if they're coming from I-75 into the 41 acres. There's a median there, there's no opportunity for light, so they would, it'd be handy if they could come into that whole access road that you're describing. But it's single lane right now, and I was just wondering if it's part of the sale, if it would be reserved so that it could be 2 lanes, or.
I really can't answer that question, but I would assume that, since the PM zoning is that the council and the zoning board has control of what they plan, that if they say this has to be this type of road, then since we're gonna be accessing into that, then that's what they would have to do. So it would again be left up to the council, to tell, on the zoning, whoever is in charge of that part of it, to tell them how it would be done as far as access. But and you correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I saw the plans, that the access from the senior apartment complex goes to this road, and then they would go down to Ditch Road to get on. They won't come straight out of the project to Ditch Road.
That's correct. Anyone else have anything they'd like to add with respect to this public hearing in regard to this particular project? Mayor, it appears no one else is present with respect to this public hearing, and we request you close the public hearing on this.
Thank you, Mr. Stoltz. At this time, we will call the regularly scheduled council meeting to order. Ms. Stennett, if you would, please do the invocation. Ms. James, lead us in the pledge, please.
Make our beginning of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Lord, thank you for the blessings you've bestowed upon the citizens, visitors, and the city of Fort Oglethorpe. We are truly, truly amazed by your glory. Lord, we pray that you place your hand upon us as we, in effect, try to lead, make decisions based on the honor that has been bestowed, that we may use our voice, our thoughts, and our deeds to represent your glory within this city. Lord, be with those who are suffering. Place your hand upon them, Lord. Give them the strength, the courage, and the wisdom to follow your path to glory. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is reading of the minutes of previous council meeting. If members of council have had an opportunity to review these, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Next item on the agenda, communications from the mayor. Although you can't tell it, they say spring is here. I guess Mother Nature blessed us with some rain, but we were fortunate to have a few weeks without it, so we did get caught up on a little bit of construction that's going on in the city, and hopefully we'll get dried out a little bit more. We've got quite a few projects that needs to be completed if Mother Nature will let us. Next item on the agenda is zoning matters. We have none. Next item on the agenda is ordinances. Ordinance number 1, third and final reading of ordinance number 2019-05. Mr. Stokes.
Ordinance number 2019-05, rezoning, be it ordained by the mayor and council of the city of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, and is hereby ordained by authority thereof. Section 1, that the following property owned by Goodlet Family Partners, L.P., known as number 2 Forest Road, map 003 F047-000, is rezoned to a C2 zoning. Said property is particularly described in a deed attached to as Exhibit A. If any part of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect or impair the other parts of this ordinance unless it clearly appears that such other parts are wholly and necessarily dependent upon the part held to be invalid or unconstitutional. This ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor and council. This will be the third reading on this, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. I have a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second, sir.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Mr. Childs?
Yes.
Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Ms. James?
Yes.
Ms. Stinnett?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous. Item number 2 under ordinances, third and final reading of ordinance number 2019-06. Mr. Stokes.
Ordinance number 2019-06, rezoning, be it ordained by the mayor and council of the city of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, and is hereby ordained by authority thereof. Section 1, that the following property owned by Wanda A. Harwood and Brenda A. Mathis and known as 1565 Deach Road, map 0013D002, is rezoned to a PM zoning. Said property is particularly described in the deed attached as Exhibit A. If any part of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect or impair the other parts of this ordinance unless it clearly appears that such other parts are wholly and necessarily dependent upon the part held to be invalid or unconstitutional. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor and council. Third reading, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. I have a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Last call for a second. Rezoning fails for lack of a second. Item number 4 under ordinances, third and final reading, ordinance number 2019-07.
City of Fort Oglethorpe, State of Georgia, ordinance number 2019-07, repeal of existing Chapter 30 courts and adoption of a new Chapter 30 courts. An ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, City of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, Chapter 30 courts to provide for certain revisions, to provide for the provisions therein is authorized by state law, to provide for the office of the prosecuting attorney for the City of Fort Oglethorpe, to provide for the office of the public defender for the City of Fort Oglethorpe, to provide for modifications, to provide for severability, to repeal conflicting ordinances or parts thereof, to provide for an adoption effective date, and for all other purposes allowed by law. Whereas the duly elected governing authority of the City of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, is authorized under Article 9, Section 2, Paragraph 3 of the Constitution of the State of Georgia, the Official Code of Georgia, annotated 36-353, and the Charter of the City of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, to adopt reasonable ordinances to protect and improve the public health, safety, welfare, and aesthetics of the citizens of the City of Fort Oglethorpe, and whereas the duly elected governing authority of the City of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, is vested in the City Council composed of a mayor and 5 council members, whereas it is hereby ordained by the governing authority of the City of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, whereas the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 30, is hereby amended by repealing it in its entirety and by adopting a new Chapter 30, Courts. Mayor, this ordinance has been on file with the clerk's office since its first announcement. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's very lengthy, but basically this is the third announcement on this ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Stoltz. For the record, this has been available in the clerk's office for 6 weeks now, so anyone that had wanted to go over it and review it has had more than ample opportunity. That's why we had it on display in the clerk's office 5 days a week for 6 weeks. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion, sir.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Ms. Childs?
Yes.
Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Ms. James?
Yes.
Ms. Stennett?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous. Item number 4 under ordinances. First reading for annexation, ordinance number 2019-09. Mr. Stoltz.
Ordinance number 2019-09, annexation, be it ordained by the mayor and council of the City of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, and is hereby ordained by authority thereof, Section 1, that the following property owned by James Howard Walthour and known as MAP 0013D050 portion and 0013D051897 Dyer Bridge Road is annexed into the City of Fort Oglethorpe. Said property is particularly described in a deed attached as Exhibit A. If any part of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect or impair the other parts of this ordinance unless it clearly appears that such other parts are wholly and necessarily dependent upon the part held to be invalid or unconstitutional. Section 3, that this ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor and council. First reading, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Stoltz. Item number 5 under ordinances, first reading for zoning, ordinance number 2019-10. Mr. Stoltz.
Ordinance number 2019-10, rezoning, be it ordained by the mayor and council of the City of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, and is hereby ordained by authority thereof, Section 1, that the following property owned by James Howard Walthour and known as MAP 0013D050 portion and 0013D051897 Dyer Bridge Road is hereby rezoned to a planned development mixed-use PM zoning. Said property is particularly described in Exhibit A and the deed attached to same. Section 2, if any part of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect or impair other parts of this ordinance unless it clearly appears that such other parts are wholly and necessarily dependent upon the part held to be invalid or unconstitutional. Section 3, that this ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor and council. First reading, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Stoltz. If at any time you need to take a breather and get you a drink, I will certainly understand, sir.
The city clerk, Johnny Robinson's offered to help me.
Here she comes.
I'm just kidding, Johnny. I know you will.
Item number 6, under ordinances, first reading of ordinance number 2019-13. Mr. Stoltz.
13?
11, I'm sorry,
11?
sir.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, sir. Ordinance number 2019-11, rezoning, be it ordained by the mayor and council of the City of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, and is hereby ordained by authority thereof. Section 1, that the following property owned by Better Built Homes and known as MAP 020020 Enterprise Drive is hereby rezoned to a C1 special exception zoning. Said property is particularly described in a deed attached hereto as Exhibit A. If any part of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect or impair other parts of this ordinance unless it clearly appears that such other parts are wholly and necessarily dependent upon the part held to be invalid or unconstitutional. Section 3, that this ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor and council. First reading, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Stoltz. Item number 7, under ordinances, first reading of ordinance number 2019-12. Mr. Stoltz.
Ordinance 2019-12, rezoning, be it ordained by the mayor and council of the city of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, and is hereby ordained by authority thereof. Section 1, that the following property owned by Bernard H. Brown and known as MAP 0019A002, a portion thereof, 540 Highway 41, is hereby rezoned to a C1 special exception zoning. Y zoning. Said property is particularly described in the deed attached as Exhibit A attached hereto to this ordinance. If any part of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect or impair other parts of this ordinance unless it clearly appears that such other parts are wholly and necessarily dependent upon the part held to be invalid or unconstitutional. Section 3, that this ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor and council. First reading, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Stoltz. Item number 8, under ordinances, annexation, ordinance number 2019-13. Mr. Stoltz.
Ordinance number 2019-13, annexation, be it ordained by the mayor and council of the city of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, and is hereby ordained by authority thereof. Section 1, that the following property owned by Emerson Russell and known as MAP 0010D00100A Max Smith Road is annexed into the city of Fort Oglethorpe. Said property is particularly described in the deed attached as Exhibit A attached to this ordinance. Section 2, if any part of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect or impair other parts of this ordinance, unless it clearly appears that such other parts are wholly and necessarily dependent upon the part held to be invalid or unconstitutional. Section 3, that this ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor and council. First reading, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Stoltz. Well, I know this is the one you've been waiting on. Item number 9, under ordinances, first reading for zoning, ordinance number 2019-14.
Ordinance number 2019-14, rezoning, be it ordained by the mayor and council of the city of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, and is hereby ordained by authority thereof. Section 1, that the following property owned by Emerson Russell and known as MAP 0010D00100A Max Smith Road is hereby rezoned to a I1 zoning. Said property is particularly described as follows in the deed attached as Exhibit A. Section 2, if any part of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect or impair other parts of this ordinance unless it clearly appears that such other parts are wholly and necessarily dependent upon the part held to be invalid or unconstitutional. Section 3, that this ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor and council. First reading, Judge, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. Next item on the agenda is resolutions. We have none. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business. We have none. Next item on the agenda is reading of the city clerk of any communications. We have none. Next item on the agenda is new business. Item number 1 under new business, proposed approval task order 2019-05 for engineering services for Highway 41 Phase 2. Mr. Parker.
Mr. Mayor, this request is for task order 2019-05 for CTI engineers to do the record drawings for the sanitary sewer project on Highway 41, Phase 2 and 2B. This item is provided for in the contract with the contractor and with Mays Construction, but we can save $1,000 by letting CTI do it. They have all the documentation, and we probably get a better, more accurate record drawing. Save a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Have a motion to approve.
Make a motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Item number 2, under new business, proposed approval Highway 41 sewer project Phase 2 and 2B change order number 2. Mr. Parker.
Okay, this is the change order for the final change order on this sewer project to close the project out. It is completed. This change order is the final adjustments of all quantities, and it is a reduction in the contract price by $24,565.23. That the task order for CTI to do the record drawings is one of the deductions in this, but there are also a lot of other items that we removed from the project, which resulted in the deduction.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. I have a motion to approve.
Make a motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Item number 3, under new business, proposed approval for motor repair. Mr. Parker.
Okay, this is a request to pay for North Georgia Service Estimate 11,897, the amount of $17,500 for one of the motors at Hand Drive Pump Station. It's a 90-horse pump motor that on March the 16th, motor number 1 experienced a major failure, resulting in a total rebuild of the pump and motor. Requesting approval, authorization to pay this invoice of $17,500.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. I have a motion to approve.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Item number 4, under new business, proposed approval for police vehicle equipment. Chief Helton.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Police Department would like to recommend the purchase of police equipment for the 2 Chargers that you purchased a couple months ago. They should be coming in about 2 to 3 weeks. This equipment that's listed for these 2 vehicles, these Dodge Chargers, will include the light packages, the light bars, the controller boxes, a variety of other things that go on the cars that are required. Frankly, the space, the barrier between the prisoners and the officers, everything else that loads onto the cars. As required by city policy and state law, we went out to bid for these items. We had 5 bidders. The lowest and most responsive bidder was Mountain View Ford, and the price total is $14,404. That's $7,202 per car. And that will come out of SPLOST funds.
Thank you, Chief Helton. I have a motion to approve.
Motion, second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Item number 5, under new business, proposed approval to request no left turn going eastbound on State Route 146, which is Cloud Springs Road onto West Side Drive. Ms. Simpkins.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. This item is a request to send a letter to GDOT from the Mayor and City Council requesting a no left turn going eastbound on State Route 146, Cloud Springs Road onto West Side Drive. Currently, there are no traffic control devices at this intersection, and there's also no turn lane. So this causes traffic to back up unnecessarily on Cloud Springs Road. And ultimately, the widening of Cloud Springs Road will take care of this issue, but in the meantime, staff recommends sending a letter to GDOT with a request of installing a no left turn. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Ms. Simpkins. I have a motion to approve.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Does this, what about Westman coming to West Town Country? Is it gonna affect it?
No.
No.
This letter only is
Eastbound only.
eastbound.
They take it for a shortcut most of the time. Backs up all the way to the light almost.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Next item on the agenda is City Manager's Report. Ms. Simpkins.
Mayor and Council, I have nothing new tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Simpkins. Next item on the agenda is City Council comments. Mr. Child.
No comments tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Child. Mr. Crawford.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Is it not ball season yet?
It is.
I mean, I know it's raining, but
It is.
it's upon us, isn't it?
It is. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Mr. Rogers.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Ms. James.
I don't have anything.
Thank you, Ms. James. Ms. Stinnett.
Yes, sir. It's good to be back this week. Start out with wanting everyone to make sure you pay attention to the 1919 Club for the 6th Cavalry Museum, because we need to support our 6th Cavalry Museum as they are wonderfully supportive of the city of Fort Oglethorpe, especially with the new exhibit that is open with the 6 battles of Curlin. Everyone needs to go see that if you have not already. Just last weekend, there was a celebration that offered a free viewing of Keep Your Powder Dry. I don't know if you guys went to see that or not. It was in 1945. It's a World War II movie, and it is very, very visible, the city of Fort Oglethorpe, the battlefield that was, or not the battlefield, where our troops were on Barnhart Circle. You can tell it is there. You will recognize it. Enjoy that. And it's now available for purchase on DVD. Now page 2. It's very seldom that we receive wonderful letters, complimentary, going over and above for our staff. But I did receive one such letter today. Dear Council Lady Stinnett, I just wanted to let the city know that the guys doing the sewer replacement have been just wonderful through all this weather. They also took wonderful care of our dog, Houdini, that we had buried in the yard where they ended up coming through. I told them where he was buried and what he was in. They took great care at removing him and setting him in a box that I had set out for them to use. They finished that area of my yard, and then they gently placed him back where he was, and also added a post over where he was buried, so we'd know where to replant the plants we had on top of him. Amanda was so happy at the way they took care of him, and she made sure to thank them. They have had a mess to try and work around with all the rain we've had. They are close to having the landscapers come through and start putting grass seed and straw down. They had to take my building down that was in the way because it was on a concrete floor. They will be replacing my building once they're able to do so after the landscapers get done. I just wanted to let someone know that the contractor that the city hired has done a wonderful job and are a great group of people. I felt they have done such a great job with our dog that I fixed them homemade hot chocolate a few days when it was really cold outside. Thank you, and I hope all is well with you. Angel Payne Smith. And how awesome it is to receive such wonderful correspondence talking about the great job that the city does. Now, this month celebrates the U.S. Army launching its K-9 Corps. And why am I bringing that up? Because on April 13th at 9 a.m. at Honor Park, we will be planting the service animal tree, along with the fire department's tree, the police department, the emergency management systems department's tree, the WAC, Purple Heart. All those trees will be planted at Honor Park, 9 a.m. on April 3rd. So I hope all of you will take this opportunity to be part of that great event. And now, in conclusion, I'd like for everyone to wish Melvin Turner a happy 103rd birthday. He's a World War II veteran, and he will turn 103 on Thursday, March the 28th. That's right. He was here in 1935 in E Troop. His horse's name? Shorty. And he's been attending 6 cavalry events for the 15 years that Director McKeever's been here. He mustered out in 1935, thought he was out of it, went to have a family, and then lo and behold, was drafted for World War II. So please, everyone, wish Mr. Melvin Turner a happy 103rd and thank him for his wonderful service. Mayor, Council, that is all.
Thank you, Ms. Stent. Next item on the agenda, citizens petitions and requests. Ms. Redding?
Mayor, she called earlier. She will not be present tonight.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Simpkins. Next item on the agenda is executive session. We do not have anything for executive session tonight. Final item on the agenda is adjournment. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. This meeting is adjourned.